Back with Wendell Young. Wendell, first of all, from Halifax, we've been talking about you being on the East Coast. What was it like going to Kitchener as a youngster at 16, 17 years of age? You're going from Kitchener, way on the East Coast of Canada, to Ontario. Had to be a little bit difficult.
It was really different. It's the first time I was on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, growing up in the neighborhood, we didn't get on planes. And I ended up getting drafted to Kitchener. At the time, there was no teams in the Quebec League in the Maritimes, so I could get drafted to the Ontario League and the Quebec League, and I didn't get drafted to the Quebec League. They had my age down wrong, so I didn't go. So my buddy, my best friend in my neighborhood, he got drafted to Laval, which ended up being, he played with Mario, but the owner from Laval came down to sign my buddy, and his dad asked, like, why didn't Wendell get drafted in Quebec League? He goes, oh, no, he'll be one of the top picks next year. So now Laval was like soliciting me to go to Laval, and it was an easy thing to do because my buddy was there. Yeah. And by coincidence, I'm this is all going on, and my sister calls up to my buddy's place and says, a guy from Kitchener is here, Mike Penny. As was the outgoing GM. He's in town to talk to you, and he was the outgoing GM of Kitchener Rangers. And I said, hey, I got to go down and sit with him. And I told him what was going on. He goes, I can't compete with what's being offered to you, but I'm going to tell you, here's what we have in Kitchener. And I'm like, he goes, can you just at least come and see what we have? And I said, yeah, 100%. I went back to my buddies and I said, I think I'm going to end up going to Kitchener. And it was a good decision in the end because we had one hell of a team.
No kidding. Well, before that, we'll get into a little bit about that, but I have to add something again. You go to Kitchener, and not easy, obviously, away from home, and you're a tough guy. I mean, I know you're an aggressive player, but an early call back to your dad, and you said something along the lines of, I want to come home, and your dad said, yeah, I'll see you at Christmas.
Yeah, that's exactly, and it wasn't a way of a forceful, you got to play hockey type thing. It's like, you made a commitment. And, that goes back. I was playing midget hockey for the AAA team, and a junior tier 2 team, Cole Harbour, where actually Sidney Crosby's from, called me and said, would you come over and try out? And I go over and I try out. The first day, they said, we want to sign you. And my dad said, you can't sign. You got to go back and tell your midget team that you're not doing it before you do that. So it was the whole thing. You make a commitment, you stay to the commitment. That's what ended up happening. And like anybody that leaves and has been away, and a young kid, and I take this lesson for a lot of things that happen. You get homesick. You're used to. You have your girlfriend, you have all your buddies, you have your high school, and everything is great, and everything's going great. And all of a sudden, you're on your own and you got to find new friends. And fortunate being in hockey, you find new friends pretty fast. But it's tough, and it didn't start right. And I had a tough coach, and I was used to playing all the games, and now you're not. So there's a lot of factors, and and then you're given the responsibility to look after your schooling and everything. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot put on
it's a young person. Time
yes, 100%. And you can either decide to suck it up and do it, and I was fortunate that I lived with a great family, a billet family, where they were awesome. I still stay in contact with them to this day. But I had good guys living with me also, and so it made what it is.
So you won the Memorial Cup. That team was
the first year we lost in the Memorial Cup final. We were the worst team in junior the year before, but the team. The first year as a rookie, we lost the Memorial Cup final against like Dale Howardchuk and Scotty Arneal and Mark Crawford. Like their team, they had something like 12 first rounders or something on the team. It was crazy. And then the second year we ended up winning it, and we had a team.
Beat us by the year before.
The year before, yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, we had a guy on our team that played for the Cornwall team for 2 years, and one of the teams that beat you, that beat us in the finals. We picked him up for Kitchener. He won the Memorial Cup 3 straight years in a row. He was one of my defensemen, and that leads into another story. So I had him that had just won 2 Memorial Cups, overtime goal in the Memorial Cup. So he was one of my defense. And then I had a guy named Dave Shaw, probably played like 15 years in NHL, and I actually ended up playing pro hockey with him also. And then my other 2 defensemen were Scott Stevens and Al McGinnis, both in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So it made my job very easy. But we had guys up front like Brian Bellows and Jeff Larmer, and just there were so many players, Mike Eagles, like all these guys. I think after the World Cup team, I think it was like 11 or 12 years later, we had like a dozen guys playing pro hockey still that have played NHL games.
That's incredible. Great team it was. I have to, again, I'm going to throw in Daryl. Sorry, Daryl. There was a nickname they used to call you, and it's something to do with Winnie the Pooh. And you didn't like it very much. But
You see this body? Yeah. It's round. You picture Winnie the Pooh, you picture me, and literally...
Don't boo the Pooh.
Don't boo the Pooh. But literally, I was Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, there were signs and everything it caught on. But I'd literally grown up. I was, in my household, it was called Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. And it was Pooh. Someone would call, Pooh, it's for you. I mean, I'm in my teenage years. Like, I'm coming back from Kitchener, and I was still called Pooh. And it's a part of Winnie the Pooh. And I go, I'm short, round.
At least they knew you.
Short, round, yeah.
That's terrific stuff.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think anything of it. It was just, I went by Pooh.
Is what it was. Yeah. Gotta love it. We'll be back with more Wolves hockey after this.